Hello and welcome to Books and Us. Well, listeners, we are back again with a new and interesting topic. And as always, we remain a podcast about learning about new ideas and getting inspiration from books. I'm Ranjit Monga, and I interview authors of books in the non-fiction category. If you would like to read about the podcast interviews, you can visit the website www.globalbihari.com and search for the column Literary Speaking. You can also check out my Substack page.
We should look at millets not just as healthy grains, but they are a part of our heritage. They nourish our bodies, they support our farmers, and they protect our environment. So, bringing them back to our plates is not just a food choice. In fact, we are taking a step towards better health, a more sustainable future.
Listeners, this is the ninth episode of the second season, and today we are diving into a topic I have wanted to explore since the very beginning of the podcast, and the topic is millets. Millets, as some of you may be knowing, are cereals or grains which actually have been around for thousands of years. And again, today our society is rediscovering them, and they are making a comeback. In fact, they are being hailed as the super cereals of the future. So, today we are going to talk about a book which is packed with valuable insights on millets. The title of the book is Millets, the Trending Ancient Grain by Dr. Kruti S. Dhirwani. Dr. Dhirwani also gives many easy recipes in the book on how to cook millets because the way to cook millets is slightly different. And you can go to her social media channels, to get many varieties of these recipes. We also have one recipe for you in the program. Dr. Dhirwani is based in Mumbai. Dr. Dhirwani, welcome to the podcast Books and Us.
Thank you, Mr. Ranjit. It's a pleasure to be on this podcast and to share my insights on this topic.
Yes, this is a very important topic, I thought, and I had been wanting to do a podcast on this since a long time, since we started actually. So, let me just give an introduction about Dr. Dhirwani. She is a homeopathic physician and clinical nutritionist, deeply passionate about holistic health and sustainable living. She has been practicing for the last 15 years at Sunshine Homeopathy Clinic, which is at Sion in Mumbai. She has also started an awareness website called Magic of Mom, through which she works on a variety of topics related to parenting and motherhood. Dr. Dhirwani is very conscious about the potential of delivering better health outcomes through empowering women and conducts many workshops and webinars for nutrition and women's health under her brand name Care Shakti. She urges people to adopt millets in their diet. So, Dr. Dhirwani, let me start by asking what exactly are millets and what can one find in your book about them?
So, like you very rightly mentioned at the beginning, that millets are a part of our cultures from thousands of years ago. So, millets are actually one of the most oldest grains that are known to mankind. And most of us think of the term millet as one single grain. But
Mhm.
millets are a group of grains, just like
Okay.
we group pulses or we say spices. So they are a
Mhm.
group of things. Similarly, millets are also a group of grains. They were amongst the first grains that were cultivated and domesticated right here in Asia and Africa.
Mhm.
So even before wheat and rice became our household staples, our ancestors were actually eating millets in their daily lives. So when I talk about millets, of course, India has a very rich history of millets, and our government has therefore named millets as Shri Anna. If we are aware that our honorary Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi ji, has given the name Shri Anna to millets. Shri Anna means honored grains or the mother of all grains. So there are total of 13 millets that are
Mhm.
available worldwide, out of which 9 millets are native to India. They have their origin right here in India. So in my book, what one can find is a detailed information about these 9 millets which are available and grown in India,
Mhm.
about their regional names. That is the most important thing, because every millet is called by a different name in different languages.
Mm-hmm.
For example, sorghum is called jawar, pearl millet is called bajra. Each region, each state gives a different name to these millets. So all of these names are given in my book. They are nutritional properties. Which millet has what nutritional properties and how one can benefit by eating these millets and how to cook them. That is one of the most important thing, like you clearly mentioned in the beginning, that yes, millet have to be cooked in a different way. So basic understanding of how to cook millets, and of course a few recipes which then people can use in their day-to-day meals. So this is what is there in my book.
So before we come to the nutritional value of these millets, which I believe is very, very high, I just want to know from you that if they have been around for thousands of years, then why did people stop using them?
We all might know about this story. Some of us would be very much aware that millets were a part of our food basket even 60, 65 years ago. They
Okay.
were very much a staple in our homes. And they made a huge part, almost 40 to 50% of the grains that were grown in India were coming from millets. But what happened 60, 65 years ago was the arrival of Green Revolution, which happened somewhere around 1960s. That time, our focus was shifted towards wheat and rice as the government pushed these grains for a large scale production because we were going through a lot of famine and a lot of food insecurities at that time. So we needed crops which were grown faster, which would adapt faster to irrigation and fertilizers and pesticides. So with all of these newer techniques that came in to boost the yields, to boost the production, so wheat and rice were given more focus. The government also supported wheat and rice, and because of this, millets were kind of pushed back or faded into the background. Also, what the second reason, what I believe is in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and still going on, what we saw was globalization. So there was so much of influx of newer grains, somewhere, so even not just new, but sometimes even exotic sounding grains and foods that came from different parts of the world. And these fancier grains were, of course, packaged in a very enticing way. So people started taking up using these grains or these foods into their diet. And therefore, these foods, some of them are convenient food. So they took up a lot of place in our kitchens, on our plates.
Yes.
And
Yes.
slowly and gradually, millets started fading away into the background.
And wheat and rice are also relatively easier to cook. And as I read in your book that wheat was also preferred because you could even make bread out of it.
Yes, because wheat has a special protein called gluten.
Hmm.
So the gluten gives that elasticity, the soft texture to your breads, to your chapatis. So,
Hmm.
and millets are considered to be a little bit more coarser. So if you eat a jawar roti and if you eat a wheat roti, you will see the difference. There is a little, because millets are dry grains, whereas wheat will have, because of gluten, it has that elasticity.
Hmm.
So that is why it was easier to make bread, chapatis with wheat, as and how we went towards fast-paced life. So we wanted more of convenient foods rather than,
Yes.
spending more time in the kitchen. Because the
Yes.
women also today are working, so they have lesser time.
Yeah, and people who have lived in the villages, in rural areas or semi-rural areas, and who come from these places where there is a long tradition of ancient societies, like for example in Rajasthan, they still remember, when they were children, they used to eat rotis or bajra. So the knowledge is still there in a little, but it's only a trickle of what actually millets are, and I believe that even their nutritional content is very high.
Correct, correct. So the knowledge is still there, and like you mentioned that yes, like in places like Rajasthan or even in the hilly regions, or when you go down south. So for them, because nothing else grows there, so they still depend on millet as their staple. But they are very specific. So in Rajasthan, you'll find more of bajra. In the hilly regions, you'll find more of your barnyard millet, or what we call as samba. So that is what is available in the hilly regions. In down south, if you go, finger millet is something which is a staple, especially in Karnataka and other states. But the knowledge is not there in the urban cities, in
Urban
cities like
cities.
Mumbai,
Yeah.
yeah, in
Mm.
metropolitan cities. Here, because globalization has taken over so much, so here our
Mm.
eating habits have changed dramatically over the years.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you look around, even if when I am consulting my patients and when we discuss about the food,
Mm.
you realize that their kitchen has is filled with either processed food or ready to eat products and ready to eat
Mm.
meals. And so millets are not a part of their kitchens at all. Some of them are not even aware what millets are.
Mm.
So at the most, if you ask them millets, they will probably know jawar and bajra, but nothing else.
Nothing
No other
else.
millet are they aware about. Majorly, like we just discussed, millet lost out to wheat
Mm.
because
Mm.
of the lack of gluten,
Mm.
and also it lost out to rice because of the texture, because like I mentioned, millets are a little coarser and a
Mm.
little difficult to cook. I would not say it requires little more effort and a little more planning as
Mm.
compared to when you're cooking a basic rice. There was one more what do you say, a myth or something, that people thought that they correlated millets with the food of the poor, because
Mm.
millets could be stored for many months.
Mm.
So during famine, people would depend on millets earlier
Mm.
because they were
Mm.
easier to store. They would not
Mm.
get spoiled or rotten because
Mm.
of the weather or anything.
Mm.
So that is the reason why people thought it's a poor man's food, and they forgot that it is so incredibly rich in nutrients.
Mm.
So it is a classic case of out with the old and in with the new. But I think we've lost on a very important and a very valuable grain along the way, and that is the reason why we are seeing such a uh, steep rise in the lifestyle disorders, because our eating habits have completely changed over the last couple of decades.
Yeah, and I can see from the chart which is given in your book that the millets are very high in carbohydrates, uh, quite high in protein, up to about from 2 to 12%, and fat is very low. The dietary
Yes,
fiber again, which is very
it's very
high.
high. Yes.
Yeah. So how do these impact the body?
A lot of people, they think carbohydrate is bad, but what they forget is millets have complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates are not digested in the way we eat refined carbohydrates or simple carbohydrates like your sugar, your refined flour, or your bakery items, when they use refined flour in the bakery items. So they are immediately digested and they give a spike in your blood sugar levels. But when you eat complex carbs, something that comes from millets, the blood sugar level stays under control. The blood sugar, the release of sugar into your blood is gradual, is sustained. So it will not give a spike. So those with diabetes, they really benefit when they switch from wheat and rice toward millets. When I'm working with my patients, sometimes there is a hesitancy amongst patients that they don't want to completely shift to millets. So I tell them to go gradual. I said you start with a few meals a week, and then if you kind of adapt it, then you can completely stop your wheat and rice, or you can have wheat and rice as an occasional treat for yourself. But
Mm.
main diet, if your 80% of your diet consists of millets, then I think it really helps in these clinical conditions like diabetes. I have seen results even for people who are obese. The weight loss happens faster, and the weight loss is sustainable. So the main point is, when you lose weight too quickly, it is not sustained. But with millets, it is that you will have a sustained weight loss. So even if you're losing, say, 1 kilo a week, but that will it will be maintained. You'll not bring back that weight again. Apart from that, millets, I use a lot of millets for my cancer patients as well. Those who are undergoing treatment and those who uh, have already had cancer, they've been treated or they've been operated. So they act as, and they have a lot of anti-cancer properties because they are very rich in antioxidants. So in today's time, when we are so much dependent on this processed food, which are fully of chemicals and preservatives, which increase the chances of cancer a lot. So at such times, when we switch our diet to millets, they actually kind of become your healing foods, and they help the body heal faster, and they give you all the nutrients that you require. Like you mentioned, it has carbohydrates, it has your good amount of fat, it has good protein, it has dietary fiber, and the antioxidants, like I mentioned, are so many, and most of them have different. And that research, to be very honest, is still on. Even as doctors, we don't have complete knowledge of what are the exact antioxidant in which millet. We know we've seen the results, but we are still studying as to which millet has what antioxidant and how we can still utilize this better and help patients use as a therapeutic tool and not just as a uh, as just one food amongst the other foods. A lot of research is happening, and we are even some of them are also trying to use millets as a nutraceuticals. Nutraceuticals is something where you use food product as a medicine. So, but that is still a little bit far away. But yeah, so adding millets to your diet can help in plenty of ways. Even if one does not have any health conditions, if one is completely healthy, also millets do help in preventing the disease as well. Not just curing or managing a disease, but it also helps in preventing.
So another thing about carbohydrates, I think, is that because they get digested very slowly, the person also feels satiated, and that
Correct.
feeling of fullness, he eats less, and ultimately, so it's helpful for obesity,
Yes.
for
Yes.
diabetes.
Yes, absolutely. So that is for complex carbs again. Only the foods which have complex carbs will be able to. So all of your whole grains, not just millets, but even your pulses and other grains also are good, except for your refined grains, like I told about the maida or the refined flour, all-purpose flour that we eat, or even your white rice, the polished white rice. These are all simple carbs. Your pasta or your pizza, noodles, these are all considered as simple carbs. So when you eat them, you will feel, at that moment you feel full, but immediately after an hour or two, you are kind of hungry. This happens because the food is digested very fast, because they are made of simple carbs, and the body
Yes.
can the food can, this is digested faster and converts into glucose faster. And we've seen, in fact, when we as doctors, when we are helping our patients, we do their glucose monitoring, and we see that what foods brings about an immediate spike in the blood glucose level. So we've seen that with millets this does not happen. So for that we measure something, is what we have term is the glycemic load,
Index. Yeah.
glycemic index and glycemic load. So millets are one of the grains which have the lowest glycemic
Lowest.
load.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's
Yes.
very good for diabetics, and like you mentioned, even for patients who are obese, trying to lose weight. For them, it is good because it will not it will, because the food is digested in slowly. You will feel fuller, and you will not keep on munching on food every 2 hours, 3 hours.
So what about the fiber?
Yes. So the dietary fiber, like usually we have two types of dietary fiber. One is insoluble, one is soluble. So this has majorly soluble fiber, but more than that, we call something like a resistant starch, which is also a
Yes.
type of carbohydrate.
Mhm.
Now, resistant starch is something which is not digested by your stomach or in your small intestine. So usually our food is digested in the stomach and the small intestine. But resistant starch is something that escapes all of this. There is no enzyme in the body which can digest this resistant starch. It goes into your gut, that is your large intestine, goes into your gut, and the bacteria in our gut can only digest this resistant starch. So this helps in reducing your post-lunch blood sugar. Those who are diabetic, they will understand this. So post-lunch blood sugar, it's well maintained, because your glucose release is going to be very, very slow, because the food is not digested only till it's reaching your large intestine. Two, it helps in improving your uh, gut health. So all those people who have a lot of digestive issues, millets, because they're high in resistant starch, they help to improve their gut health. And today, of course, a lot of us know that gut health is directly related to everything. Our overall health, our mental health, all of our health is related
Absolutely.
to gut.
It's called the
The
second
gut,
brain of the body.
yes, it is the
Yeah.
second brain of the body, very rightly
Yeah.
said. So
Yeah.
the bacteria in the gut also need to be fed, and they feed on this resistant starch. And that is how they replenish and they help our body maintain the equilibrium and the harmony amongst, like everything is under control. So, and Most of them who in today's time we see a lot of gut issues, especially uh,
Mm.
bloating or indigestion,
Yeah.
acidity, even constipation. This is very common with what the modern diet we are eating.
Yeah. And the
So
irritable syndrome, the
irritable bowel syndrome. A lot of
yeah,
people have become gluten sensitive. So for
because of
all of them,
tensions. Yeah.
millets become like the perfect solution.
Another thing I wanted to discuss is the reactive oxygen species, which you have talked about in the book. This helps in reducing degenerative diseases.
Yes. So, like I
Yeah.
mentioned, cancer and disease and degenerative, especially Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, which we see nowadays is on the
Wow.
rise because our
Mm.
geriatric population is increasing. So we are seeing a
Mm.
lot of people
Yes.
above 70 have
Mm.
some or the other degenerative disorder. So in those patients also, millets come like a boon, especially little millet. I always recommend little millet, barnyard millet are the two millets that I always recommend to my patients who are from the senior category.
Mm.
So yes, it helps in multiple ways. And like I said, we are still not able to completely tap into the benefit, the health benefits of millets completely. But now
Mm.
more and more research is coming in, and I'm still working on my next book. Again, this is going to be on millets, and what we are
Okay.
just discussing today is going to be a little bit more elaborate in my coming book because I'm going to discuss the therapeutic benefits of millets and how we can use it for each and every disease, whether it's diabetes, hypertension, kidney disorder, cancer, even for millets are good for pregnant women, even for children it is good. Today, for children, we are actually facing two problems. One is malnutrition, and the other is obesity. So it's like two opposite things we are facing with children. So millets again here come as a complete solution because they tackle malnutrition and they reduce obesity.
Yeah, and you have written that it can solve a lot of world's malnutrition problems,
Yes,
especially in in new
in poor
mothers,
countries, yeah.
in young girls and children.
People, a lot of children from the rural areas,
Hmm.
they don't have access to food as much as we do.
Yes.
We are from cities, so we have easy
Mm.
access to food. But those children do not have easy access to food. Some
Mm.
of them they hardly eat one meal a day.
Yes.
So malnutrition is majorly because of protein deficiency,
Mm.
and they don't get good fats. Now,
Mm.
when we eat nuts, we eat seeds, we are getting our good fats.
Mhm.
Or even when you those who are eating eggs, so those are all good fats that we are eating. But
Mhm.
these children do not get access to any because nuts are expensive, seeds
Mhm.
are expensive.
Mhm.
And when you're eating just one meal a day or two meals a day, it's not sufficient to incorporate every nutrient. So
Mhm.
here, when we with the government and with other organizations, what the government has started is midday meal programs for
Yes, yes.
children.
I was going to come to that. Yeah.
Yeah, so midday meals now consist of millets, especially
Mhm.
ragi.
Mhm.
Ragi is one of the best because it's completely balanced. It has good amount of iron, good amount of calcium, and good amount of protein. So
Mhm.
for children, it becomes a completely balanced meal. So
Mhm.
ragi is something that is usually served to them in the midday meal, or when they're forming in, if they're giving in form of khichdi or something, then they use something like either proso millet
Mhm.
or barnyard millet. Proso millet again is very high in protein.
Mhm.
So that is what the government and a lot of organizations are working towards and hoping
Mhm.
that the future generation will not be malnourished or will
Mhm.
not be obese either.
Mhm.
So in urban cities like here, when I take
Mhm.
workshops in schools, here we
Mhm.
have already started
Mhm.
something like a nutrition board for schools,
Okay.
and we go in schools and we make them aware about the bad effects of processed food, of these packaged foods, and
Mhm.
what to incorporate, how much to eat, what is the portion size, how much you're
Mhm.
supposed to eat. All of
Mhm.
that we talk in detail and make them aware about millets so that they can, when they hear about millets, at least they are aware that
Mhm.
what it is. It's a good food, and yes, eating them once in a while is good for their health. So it
Mhm.
is important that the younger generation is made aware about these
Mhm.
millets.
So you also talk about that that millets are a solution to a lot of problems that we face today in the world, because of climate change and the extremes of temperature which are there,
Yes,
and
yes,
in that scenario, millets are very good for us.
yeah. So yeah, so just not nutritionally,
Yes.
it is good for farmers. It is good for our planet. As we all know, we are going through climate crisis right now. We see erratic rainfall everywhere. The rainfall patterns have changed over the years, and this becomes a major issue for agriculture. So even last, when I remember I was in Rajasthan, I had a lot of locals out there were saying that because it rains here so much now, that
Mm-hmm.
the usual crop that they used to grow are they are unable to grow. So
Okay.
now there is a complete shift in their agriculture.
Okay.
So because of which, recently I had worked with an NGO where I was giving them nutritional solutions,
Mm-hmm.
and I got to hear that they have stopped eating bajra now. Even
Okay.
there, they are now more become more dependent on wheat and rice because of the
Because of
changing
the
climate.
rain, because there's so
Yes,
much rain. Yeah.
yes. So because then either the crop gets spoiled or they are not able to digest it well. So this kind of shifts are happening. And there are, of course, then there are regions where there is still the temperatures are very, very high.
Mm.
Same Rajasthan, if you go to see during summer season, the temperatures are extremely high. They are
Mm.
above 50 degrees.
Mm.
So millets are a crop which are what we call as climate smart. So
Mm.
they grow in less rainfall or where the soil is dry,
Mm.
and they can grow in uh, areas where there is high temperatures.
Mm.
They can grow in hilly regions as well,
Mm.
or they can grow in regions where there is heavy rainfall, like in your South India.
Mm.
So yes, everywhere in each of this situation, we will see there is millet which is standing, which is a crop which is standing even after a
Yeah.
storm or even in during the highest of temperatures.
Yeah, I believe
So
Bajra can withstand 64 degrees centigrade.
yes, it can withstand up to
Wow.
64, 65 degrees Celsius,
Mm.
and that is why it is one of the major crops in Rajasthan. Ragi can grow even in your areas where there is a lot of rain and the soil is eroded
Mm.
quicker because of the rains, the soil is getting eroded. So still ragi can grow.
Mm.
In your hilly regions, barnyard millet can grow.
Mm.
Another category which I've not spoken about is pseudo millet, so like buckwheat is something
Mm.
that is grown in hilly regions like your Himalayan regions. That
Mm.
is something which is grown there, and people
Mm.
eat it as a staple there, and they're still eating it.
Mm.
So this is one thing is about climate. So yes, it helps. It gives you the food security in these areas
In these
who,
areas,
yeah,
yes.
who experience uh, 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 complete or extreme climate shifts.
And also
Yeah.
they
So
can
also
have a local solution.
yes, we can also have a local solution. Plus, millets do not require any chemical fertilizers. They do not
Yes,
require
that's
any pesticides.
important. Yes.
So when I had a lot of patients who had asked me that, doctor, I'm getting this organic millet. I said, what organic millet? No, this company
Yeah.
is giving. I said, millets are organic. Millets don't
Yeah.
require any fund. So if anybody is selling you as a and trying to take extra money out of you, saying that this is
Yes.
organic millets, no, millets are organic, are naturally
Mm.
organic. They
Mm.
have a very low carbon footprint, and this is something which is very important in today's time.
Mm.
So your millets are grown without any fertilizers. And for years, and for a lot of years, millets were used as a stop-gap crop by
Mm.
farmers. So
Mm.
in between, like when you're growing wheat, it is
Yes.
said that for 2 or 3 months you cannot grow wheat again. You have to let
Mm.
the soil replenish.
Mm.
So at that time, the kharif crop that we call.
Mm.
So that time the farmers used to sow millet grain, millet seeds,
Mm.
and millet would grow fast in 90 days, 120 days. So in
Mm.
that 3 months, the farmers can also make use of their land. They
Mm.
are getting something to sell and they grow and sell or even eat for themselves.
Mm.
So millet is a solution for the farmers. Millet is a solution for our the changing environment,
Mm.
and of course, it is a solution for us because we need something which is nutritionally beneficial to our bodies rather than just filling our
Mm.
stomachs.
Yeah. And also, I believe they can be stored for a very long time.
Yes, like I mentioned earlier, also that they were
Mm.
called a famine crop because we could
Mm.
store them for a lot of
Mm.
months and years without them
Yeah.
getting spoiled.
Yes.
So that was one of the major reasons. But yes,
Mm.
in today's changing climate, there is I would recommend not to store for beyond 6 months. If you're storing
Okay.
a millet grain, don't store for
Mm.
beyond 6 months because
You talk
process.
about storing it in the fridge after 6 months?
Yes, if you're storing it, you can store it in fridge. If you're storing it outside, don't store in plastic containers.
Mm.
Store it in either a glass jar or a steel container.
Mm.
Then it stays fresher and it will not
Mm.
get spoiled. Again, millet flour is something which has good fats, so they go
Acha.
rancid very fast.
Okay.
Especially your pearl millet, your bajra.
Ah.
So bajra flour has the highest amount of fat.
Okay.
And so if you cannot store bajra flour for a long time, so you
Okay.
need to keep the bajra flour. If you're not going to use it uh, on an everyday basis and you've still
Mm.
bought it, then
Mm.
keep it in the fridge so
Mm.
that it will stay fresh.
What about bajra grain? That can be stored?
Yeah, bajra grain can be stored, yes. But
Okay.
in Mumbai weather or in any of your
Mm.
urban cities, I would say do not. Bajra is more for dry weather. So
Dry
anywhere
weather, yeah.
there is humidity,
Mm.
I recommend that do not store bajra for a long period of time. So because it does lose its neutral value, and when you cook it, you will not enjoy it as much.
Mm.
I always tell people that when you eat bajra in Rajasthan and you eat the
Mm.
same bajra in any of your cities, you'll
Mm.
see a difference. There is a change in the taste itself because
Okay.
either it's the water or the bajra grown there. Uh,
Okay.
the soil has some different minerals, which
Okay.
makes the bajra actually sweeter in taste.
Okay.
Whereas in cities, we always find a pungent taste or a nutty flavor to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
bajra rotis. Yes.
Bajra, I had got bajra a few years back, bajra and ragi. And like I wanted to talk about that, there are a lot of misconceptions about them. And I was under the impression that bajra can only be eaten in winter because we eat makki ka atta, you know,
Yes, yes.
in the winter. So I think it is something similar to that. Is it true, or we can have it in summer also?
Yeah, it is partially true. It's not entirely wrong.
Mm.
Bajra, because it, like I mentioned, it's high in fats. It has a lot of energy. It gives you a lot of energy. So in the summer seasons, our body, the digestion slows down during the summers because your body needs more fluids because we are already perspiring a lot, or the body utilizing more of fluids to continue the other functions in the body. And
Mm.
during winters, it is the other way around because it is colder. Your body is needs kind of energy, needs a continuous supply of energy to keep the functions, to keep
Mm.
the body organs going.
Mm.
So bajra for us, for specifically for people who are not living in areas like Rajasthan or anywhere or in the hilly regions, I would recommend that do not eat it in the summer seasons.
Mm.
Prefer eating bajra during the winters.
Okay.
It's easily digested. Body is not able to utilize all that energy quickly.
Mm.
And then a lot of time patients complain that they found it either heaty or they found some digestive issues.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get bloating. So
Okay.
then we see these issues not with everybody, but with
Mm.
some of them I do. So then, as a thumb rule, I tell my patients that avoid bajra during summers, but you can have jawar.
Mm.
All other millets, I have never had any problem. So whether it's
Okay.
jawar, whether it's ragi,
Mm.
whether it's any of your other millets like your barnyard millet, kodo millet, foxtail millet, all of these millets, because I personally also eat them throughout the year. So
Okay.
the other millets, there is no problem. Only bajra is the only one. And if you see
Okay.
my book, you see the chart, you'll
Mm.
know why, because it is very high in energy. The calorie count of bajra is highest amongst all the other millets.
Books in us opens doors to knowledge and an understanding of the world around us. Let's discover together.
So, can you just explain the categorization of the millets? You rattled off so many names, and I know that people will have a lot of problem in the beginning to separate
Yes,
the
yes,
names, and there is a categorization also, I think,
yes,
major
yes, yes,
millets
yes.
and minor millets.
So yeah, you're absolutely correct. The major confusion comes when we have to categorize or when you have to name millets.
Yeah, yeah,
Because like I
exactly.
said, most people only remember millets as jawar, bajra, and ragi.
Yes.
So the millets are categorized based on their size, on the grain size, and
Mm.
on and the area they are grown in India
Okay.
specifically.
Okay.
So the major millets are your jawar or your sorghum and pearl
Mm.
millet, and because these two, if you see, the grain size is also very very big.
Okay.
Ragi or finger millet, though the grain size is small, but the production of ragi in India is very, very high. So that is why ragi also comes under your major millets. Then we have our minor millets, which are smaller in size.
Mm.
Each of these millets look different. They are all having their own texture and color.
Mm.
The common ones in India are your foxtail millet, or we call it kangni, or kutki, which is also a fasting grain. A lot of
Ah.
our Hindus who
Kuttu
are
kuttu ka
fasting,
atta, na? That's what they say.
that is buckwheat. This is
This is
kutki, which
buckwheat.
is which is like sama, which is your barnyard millet. Again,
Mm.
barnyard millet is more popular in the northern regions,
Mm.
and other is your kodo millet
Mm.
and proso millet. So these come under your minor
With
millets. One more millet is what is not mentioned in my book is a brown top millet.
acha,
The
brown
reason
top.
I've not brown top millet is also available in India. In fact, the whole millet revolution started because we were trying to save brown top millet because brown top
Mm.
millet was getting extinct.
Okay.
So that is how the whole myth started. But the brown top millet is still not easily available because the
Mm.
production is very low, and that is why there is not enough information and research done on brown top millet.
Okay.
But of course, there are people working. There are farmers now growing brown top millet in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and those states. So their brown top millet is going to come back very soon. And
Acha.
yeah, one special category which I forgot, which we just mentioned, is your pseudo millets.
Okay.
Now, pseudo millets are actually pseudo grains.
Mm.
Again, these are also seeds, but
Mm.
they don't belong to the same family as their millets.
Mm.
But their nutritional properties and all other properties are very similar to millets. So that is why we consider them in as a part of millet. And they
Mm.
are your buckwheat, which is your kuttu ka
Mm.
atta, jo lot of people use it in their fast, during
Mm.
their fast. And the other is amaranth or rajgira. Again, fasting grain.
Mm.
We eat a lot of rajgira chikki. A
Mm.
lot of people have rajgira puri during their fast or the rajgira ka paratha.
Okay.
So amaranth and buckwheat are again very, very nutritionally very, very high. Amaranth is very
Mm.
rich in calcium. It's one of the uh, grains which is highest in calcium, more than your
Mm.
milk or any other
Mm.
food item which you would relate to calcium. So amaranth is very high in
Mm.
calcium, and buckwheat also is very high in your mineral content.
So are the minor millets the ones which you soak before you cook with them?
Yes, whole grain,
Mm.
we need to soak them.
Acha.
Wash them and soak them for minimum 4 to 6 hours. You can soak them for a longer period of time if you want to soak it overnight. Also, you can soak it, but
Mm.
minimum is 4 to 6 hours.
Mm.
So jawar flour, bajra flour, or ragi flour that did not be soaked.
Okay, when we are taking it in the raw version, raw in the
Yes,
sense
the whole
the
version, the
yeah,
whole, not the
yeah,
ground version, but the
yeah.
whole version, the whole grain when we are taking,
Mm.
that is when it has to be soaked.
Mm.
And what happens with soaking? One is we reduce the anti-nutrients.
Mm.
Two, with soaking, the texture improves, the cooking time reduces,
Mm-hmm.
and usually, see, we use these grains as a replacement for rice.
Mm-hmm.
So we eat rice. Rice is fluffy, and
Mm.
the each grain is nice and
Yes,
separate.
yes.
So the same thing will happen if you prepare the millet say, by soaking for a couple of
Mm.
hours.
Mm.
This the same when you're cooking it, then your millet will stay separate, and you can use it in form of rice.
Mm.
So and it's easier to digest, easier to cook,
Mm.
and it tastes also better.
So what all can we cook with these millets?
Oh, the list is too long. I mean, I
But
personally feel
but
everything.
You know the Indian kitchen, you know what wheat and rice are used
Yes,
for.
one needs to know that
Mm.
which millet to use in which recipe. That is one of
Okay.
the important things. So for that, you need to
Okay.
understand the property of that millet. If you're making a chapati or you're making a paratha and you want to use, then you can go for jowar or sorghum. It's the most convenient flour to
Even in
use.
summer.
Even in summer, yes, absolutely. Even
Okay.
in summer. Uh, Say you want to replace your rice, for example, you want to make a pulao or a biryani, then your kodo millet becomes the excellent replacement for rice. If you're making a khichdi, then your
Mm-hmm.
barnyard millet becomes is makes a nice creamy, and the texture of that khichdi is very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Or even pongal for the people out down south, they use a lot of pongal, use a lot of barnyard millet to prepare pongal.
Okay.
Then for bakery items, even for your cakes or your cookies,
Mm.
ragi goes well because ragi can be mixed with chocolate, and you'll not be able to make out the color. So you use it with
Yeah.
cocoa powder, or you even use it with dates. So
Mm.
it's something that it blends well and it
Mm.
tastes wonderful. Even if you ragi also, you can make a ragi malt or a ragi ambali. Ambali is something which is a fermented version. We ferment It's a
Mm.
fermented drink,
Mm.
and we have it for those who have gut issues. I usually recommend them to have ragi ambali, which is
Yeah, I
a
think
very
I had one fermented ragi drink in Sikkim.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they name it something else. They
Yeah,
don't call it
yeah.
ambali. Ambali is
Yeah.
called in south in Karnataka,
Mm.
but east in Sikkim they call it something else. But they also use a lot of ragi there.
Mm.
So also, if you have a lot of people are nowadays, for salads because they're for weight loss and for
Mm.
protein. So then for salads, little millet and foxtail millet make wonderful
Mm.
replacement for towards
Mm.
rice or anything else. Like a lot of people eat quinoa. Quinoa is not a grain, Indian origin
Yeah.
grain. It's
Yeah.
come from South America. But
Mm.
if you replace it with foxtail millet,
Mm.
the taste similar. In fact, the protein content is higher,
Mm.
and of course, there are a lot of other nutritional benefits also.
Mm.
Even for desserts, like say if you want to make kheer or you want to make a shira, then for shira, kodo millet is good. For kheer,
Mm.
foxtail millet or banyan millet, either one can be used.
Mhm.
So I think
So,
these are I'm talking about whole grains, and then like I said,
yeah.
in the flour version, there are endless possibilities.
Suppose we have to cook puris out of one of the millets. Which is the best?
So I have made out of foxtail millet.
Where would you get it? Online, or can you can get
So
it
you
in
get
the?
foxtail millet flour online also, and you get it. A lot of NGOs or a lot of small cottage industries have
Okay, okay,
started with this. I usually procure from these people. Why? Because they are directly connected to the farmers, so the
okay.
prices are less
Uh,
reasonable, and
uh,
the entire amount goes to the farmers, so it
okay,
benefits the farmers more. And
okay,
plus, I'm sure of the quality of the grain. I'm sure
okay.
that it's not polished. I'm sure it has no adulterants, and what I'm getting is a pure grain or a pure flour.
You advise buying grain or flour?
Depending upon again your use case.
Okay, okay. For puris, what do? You buy flour.
Yeah, for puris you'll have to buy flour.
Yeah.
Usually, what we do, we take the flour, we add water, and we knead the dough.
Hmm.
When you're making with any of these millet flours,
Hmm.
we heat the water, we boil the water, we
Okay.
add the flour, we switch off the gas and keep stirring it till it becomes into a paste. We
Oh,
let
why
it
why do we
stay
heat it?
because, like I mentioned, millets do not have gluten, so it has no elasticity. So
Okay,
it will not
okay,
stretch. So
okay.
when you're trying to roll the puri or a chapati, it
Mm-hmm.
will start forming cracks. But
Okay.
when you do it in this manner, you
Mm-hmm.
let it stay for 10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and then you knead it with your hand once the entire paste cools down.
Mm-hmm.
So and then you will see that it becomes in form of a dough because it stayed for around 10 minutes. It absorbs all the water. I mentioned earlier, millets are
Acha, it will
dry.
absorb the
So
water.
yes,
Okay.
it will absorb the water and it will convert into a dough. Then you can knead it with your hands, apply ghee,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can roll it out like a normal puri, and then you can fry it just like we normally do.
How much water to add? Suppose you have,
Cup.
say, 1 cup of flour.
Yeah, so 1 cup, you will need at least 1 cup of water. 1:1 you will require in case
Okay,
of
okay,
flour. When you are
okay,
making in form of a rice, I think my website has all the proportion. I have given the
okay,
link on in my
okay.
book, and it has
Yeah,
given
yeah.
all the
No, this is
proportion.
just for listeners
No,
to
yeah. So
understand
because
right
each
away.
millet will require a different proportion of water when you're cooking it
Okay,
in form
I
of
see.
rice. If you're replacing it in form of rice,
Okay.
steaming your millet rice is important rather than pressure cooking it or cooking
Mm-hmm.
it in the open pan. Then we can use it as pulao or biryani,
Mm-hmm.
or you can, this Mexican rice or your Italian rice or whatever, whichever form of rice or lemon rice. So for this reason, the portion size or the water is to millet ratio is very important. And then
Okay.
you'll get the exact texture and
Mm-hmm.
the fluffy grain, and you'll enjoy eating it better.
Tell us a recipe with jowar.
Okay, so with whole jawar risotto is something that I usually cook.
I think it's
So
your
I
favorite dish.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite, and a lot of patients have enjoyed this recipe, and they've come back to me
Okay.
saying that, doctor, this was one of the best because it is a modern recipe and yet using
Yes.
a ancient grain.
Yeah.
So it is nutritionally very healthy, and plus you're getting that. They have started serving this in parties. So a lot of my patients come back
Okay.
and we serve it in kitty parties or when we have guests over at home.
Hmm.
We serve this because it's healthier and it is, when we say risotto, they are very happy. So yeah, so we start by soaking the jawar overnight because
Hmm.
jawar is a big grain. So
Hmm.
I prefer soaking it overnight.
Hmm.
Then pressure
In
cooking the,
double the water or three times the water?
yes, double the water minimum, sometimes
Hmm.
even more. Uh, Sometimes you have to check. Sometimes the jawar is not completely cooked,
Hmm.
so then we may need to add more water. But yes, double the water is something that's sufficient. Add a little salt
Hmm.
so that it cooks well,
Hmm.
and pressure cook it for 4 to 5 whistles.
Okay.
Then, just like we make risotto, we first make the white sauce. Again, I use the jowar flour only so that we are sticking to
Okay.
one grain. I
Okay.
don't use refined flour, so we take say about approximately a teaspoon of
Hmm.
jowar flour. Add a little ghee, heat a little ghee, add the jowar flour, saute it for some time till the jowar flour is roasted.
Hmm.
Add milk depending upon what
Hmm.
milk you are using at home. You can go for low fat milk, we can go for even a plant based milk, or
Hmm.
we can use any your full cream milk, whichever is available, and whatever
Hmm.
we are using at home on a daily basis. So any
Hmm.
milk is doable.
Hmm.
Stir it continuously to make it into a thick white
Hmm.
sauce.
Hmm.
The other hand, we can steam or boil the vegetables, whatever vegetables we want to
Hmm.
add, like uh, French beans, carrot, bell peppers, broccoli, baby corn, or
Hmm.
sweet corn, any of the vegetables, or you can use a mix and match of different vegetables.
Hmm.
Once your vegetables are boiled, you first add the vegetables to the white sauce,
Hmm.
add a little salt,
Hmm.
black pepper.
Hmm.
Then we can add the jowar, which is cooked. Check first whether it is nicely cooked, each grain is cooked, and add that.
Hmm.
Stir it well. One can add cheese on top of it. If you're serving to kids, then I think
Hmm.
they enjoy a little bit of cheese. Usually, a risotto has a lot of cream cheese, but because if you're looking at from a healthy
Hmm.
perspective, a health perspective, then just you can grate or add just a half a teaspoon or 1 teaspoon of cheese on top just to give it that flavor.
Hmm.
We can decorate it with basil leaves or coriander leaves, and your risotto is ready. So only thing in this which is difficult or which requires a little effort is soaking your jowar either 8 hours before or overnight.
Hmm.
So that is the only thing that will take time. Otherwise,
Hmm.
the entire recipe is cooked within like half an hour.
But I think in our households, we are used to something or the other. We are soaking, like your
Correct. So even if you
chanas
have to make
and
a khichdi,
yeah,
yeah, so if you're
yeah,
making pulses, you have to soak it.
yeah.
You can even steam your millets and keep it in the fridge for a day or two. You can
Okay,
use it the next day. But
okay.
just that you have to keep it in the refrigerator.
What about polished and unpolished rice? What is the difference and which one do we buy?
Oh, that is again the biggest problem that I had,
Uh,
because when a lot of my patients came back saying that, doctor, after eating millets, I'm having gastric issues. I've had
okay.
bloating. Some
Hmm.
people had a lot of breathlessness issues. A lot of problems we had, and earlier it was difficult for me to understand why this happened. Till I conducted a workshop myself, and that's when I realized that people were using polished millets. Now, when you go to a local grocery store, you ask them for 4 different millets, and you will see that each millet looks the same. They're all white in color. They When we take semolina, जब सूजी या रवा हम लेते हैं, तो कैसा होता है टेक्सचर में, ग्रेन साइज ऑल आर इट्स वाइट, करेक्ट, प्लेन वाइट. तो अब जब पॉलिश्ड मिलेट्स व्हेन यू बाय, यू विल गेट दिस काइंड ऑफ something similar to suji. But in reality, each millet has a different color. We have to go for dehusked but unpolished. Now, how to recognize this is that each millet will have a black dot, oh, like we call an eye. Each millet grain has that black dot, irrespective of which variety you're buying. Each millet has this black dot, whether you're buying jowar or you're buying pearl millet or you're buying your barnyard millet or kodo millet, हर एक में ये black dot होगा. So buy a millet which has that black dot intact, and it is the only the outer skin is removed. लेकिन जब वो outer skin निकलती है ना, तो उसको skin का जो seed coat होता है ना, वो ये grain पे आ जाता है. For example, foxtail millet is yellowish in color. Kodo millet will be anywhere between brownish to grayish in color. So each millet has a different color. But the it is difficult to then identify by the color. But with the black dot, you can identify that this is an unpolished millet. Unpolished millet, why we should eat is because it has all the nutrients intact. When we are eating polished millets, we are uh, then we are not getting all the nutrients that we should be getting from millets. So
Yeah,
the
because
benefits are reduced.
then they are processed and everything is removed.
Yes.
Mm.
And two, what happens? I'm always asked that why are shopkeepers then selling polished millets? Is because it's easier to cook. When the
Acha.
millet is, it is processed, no, it is easier to cook. तो उसको
And also
सोचने में भी
acceptance, I think, because it looks
yes.
familiar like suji. Yeah.
यस, तो फिर उसमें से
Yeah.
उपमा भी बन जाती है. फिर आप उसको
Uh-huh.
शीरे में भी यूज कर सकते हो, आप खिचड़ी में भी. तो लॉट
Uh,
ऑफ पीपल व्हेन दे especially those who are fasting, they will buy it in smaller quantities and then they use it to make khichdi or
mhm.
upma, and it's easier to cook. Then they don't soak it, but when they are not soaking it, even if it is polished,
Mm.
it causes health issues, and people don't realize it, but they have digestive issues because we have I've seen it with my patients as well, and every time they have used polished millet, they've come down with some or the other gastric trouble.
So they are
uh,
getting gastric problems because they are polished or because they are not soaking it.
because they are not soaking it.
Acha.
Even the polished millet will have anti-nutrients.
Sorry,
So
it will
the
have?
anti-nutrients, so
Okay.
phytonutrients or anti-nutrients, so which will somewhere not let all the minerals being absorbed.
Okay.
The resistant starch, which I mentioned about in the beginning,
Yes.
again, the quality will go down. And that is the reason why
Mm.
the millet will become difficult to digest for the body with so much of iron. So the body is struggling. And that is the reason why a lot of people will get bloating. Some of them get constipation. I've had a lot of cases of constipation. In fact, millets are a solution to constipation. But when you're
Mm.
eating polished millets, it will definitely cause
Mm.
either constipation or
Mm.
bloating, or some people even get indigestion.
So you prescribe sort of prescribe millets to what all patients, and what are the instructions to them?
I recommend millets, in fact, to all of my patients based on their specific health needs is what then advise them millets.
Mm.
So, for example, if I have to say take a patient who is having diabetes, I will ask them to shift from a wheat roti to a jowar roti.
Mm.
I will ask them to have a barnyard millet
Mm.
or sava, what we call them, to substitute for rice. So, having either barnyard millet khichdi or barnyard millet pulao.
Mm.
Barnyard millet is one of the millet which has the lowest carbohydrates,
Mm.
and it has the lowest glycemic index and glycemic load.
Mm.
Of course, it is rich in fiber also. So
Mm.
that is one of the best for diabetic patients.
Mm.
When I'm seeing patients with, say, for example, mothers, lactating mothers, or
Mm.
children,
Mm.
or even postmenopausal women,
Mm.
or the women who are going through menopause, then
Mm.
ragi is my go-to grain because
Mm.
ragi is very high in iron. It has good amount of calcium,
Mm.
and again, it's versatile ragi. So for children, it becomes very easy to make ragi date laddu, to make.
Mm.
They will enjoy ragi roti.
Mm.
They enjoy ragi dosa. Again, ragi dosa is something that is instantly made. You don't need to
Really?
make any preparation. So if you have the
Okay.
ragi flour at home, it is instantly made. You can just toss in some onions and coriander leaves, and children enjoy it. Even ragi idli is something that is
Mm.
very popular among children.
Mm.
Again, these days we see a lot of patients who are a lot of not just patients, a lot of people want protein. A lot of people
Mm.
are obsessed with protein these days. They go for protein powders, and every day
Mm.
they're just looking for the protein content in every food. So for
Mm.
such patients, I recommend foxtail millet and proso millet. These two are the highest in protein without the excess calories. So bajra
Okay.
also is pearl millet is also high in protein, but
Mm.
it has more calories as well. So I go for foxtail millet and proso millet.
Mm.
I recommend them to have it in form of either a salad or in
Mm.
form of a pulao. or any rice that they like. So depending upon the age group also.
Mm.
Younger people want some fancier naming recipes,
Mm.
and if they are from a little older, then they are okay with the khichdi also, or with a
Mm.
traditional Indian recipe as well.
Mm.
So yeah, this are my main little millet again. I use for a lot of children, for my geriatric age group, for people who are 60, 65 plus, because
Mm.
little millet is smaller in grain size, so
Mm.
easier for them to chew, easier for them to digest.
Mhm.
Again, we can make upma out of it. We need to
Mm.
find recipes which are, the texture is and the viscosity is good for them to eat and
Mm.
swallow, because
Mm.
most of the geriatric patients have swallowing issues. They have
Mm. Mm.
dentures, so
Mm.
they have teething, they're not able to eat chew so much. So they need to be
Mm.
given foods which are soft
Mm.
and easy to digest. Again, they should be easier on their stomach as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think this is what offhand I can just tell you what I give to my
Yeah.
patients.
In the beginning, you were saying that a good way to start is to start having millets once a week or once in a while.
So, see, since last 2 years, what is happening is, because millet have suddenly become so trendy. A lot of people
Hmm.
have, I have had people who have bought 5 kilos of millets, and they just don't know what to do with it. And they
Okay.
just cook it and they eat it in every meal. They mix two
Mm.
millets in one meal. So
Okay.
all of this can lead to problems, because our bodies are not used to, like, if you, like I said, 60, 65 years, we've not had millets. So even
Mm.
our parents probably have not had so much of millets as much
Mm.
as today we are
Mm.
trying to eat. So our
Mm.
bodies, genetically also and otherwise also,
Mm.
need to adapt these grains.
Mm.
So I say start small, start with
Mm.
1 or 2 meals a
Mm.
week, uh,
Mm.
start with one millet at a time.
Mm.
Don't mix two millets in the same meal. So, for
Okay.
example, if you're eating barnyard millet
Mm.
khichdi, then you eat only barnyard millet with a combination with a dal. You
Mm.
eat. Don't try to eat jowar roti and a barnyard millet idli, or you mix multi millet paratha or multi
Mm.
millet roti. Avoid
Mm.
that, because sometimes that leads to digestive issues.
Okay.
Some people do digest it. We see a lot of multi millet cookies, multi millet flour
Mm.
are already available in the market.
Mm.
Some people are happily able to digest it, but
Mm.
they are able to do so because the quantity of millets in this is very, very small.
Mm.
But when you're making it at home, say you're
Mm.
mixing two millet flours,
Mm.
then it will become difficult, because each flour, each millet has a different nutritional profile,
Mm.
though similar but still has different. They each have different anti-nutrients, each will have different amount of minerals. Sometimes when you're mixing two, if both are rich in magnesium, your body is going to take time to digest that, to
Mm.
process that. So avoid mixing two millets in one meal.
Mm.
Go gradual,
Mm.
be open, and once your body has adapted, okay, now you know that you are okay with eating millets,
Mm.
then you can shift to all your meals also to two millets, is not
Mm.
a problem.
I find that a lot of these multigrain atas or flours which we get also have a bit of jowar and ragi. So is that fine? We are eating that at the same time, though I think it's in very small quantity.
Yes, so if you read the ingredient list, no,
Mm.
the maximum is your wheat flour, then comes your little bit of oats,
Yeah,
then
yeah,
ragi, and then jowar. So
yeah,
the content is very, very less.
yeah. It's just a
And
1 or 2%, I think.
yes, and it is highly processed. So
Mm.
it's just that you are kind of making yourself comfortable, trying to convince yourself that, oh, I'm eating a millet roti, but it's
Yeah,
actually, it doesn't give you that kind of benefits as much as when you
yeah.
eat a jawar roti or a bajra roti or a ragi roti. When you make it at
Mm.
home and you eat it, getting one single flour, it makes a difference.
Okay, that's a lot to chew on. Lot of information and totally new world.
Yes, yes. It's not new. It's just that we've
Yeah,
forgotten this.
yeah,
It was a part of our culture, and like many other
mm,
things that we've forgotten over the years, millets
yeah.
are also one of those. But they are a treasure, and I think
Mm,
I was very happy when I saw 2023 celebrated as a millet year. It was something that
mm,
it was a game changer for all of us as doctors, because when
mm,
we it gets difficult to explain to patients, to try
Mm.
to explain them what millets are, because before 2023 it was very difficult for me to explain to my patients. And
Really?
in fact,
Mm.
my first book came out in 2022. My first edition of my
Mm.
book came out in 20, before even the millet year was announced.
Okay.
So I had actually made kind of compiled this book for my patients.
Oh, so you were ahead of the trend. So, in the end, could you encapsulate the millet story, how they impact our health and society?
So the story of millets is, for me, it's a really journey back to our roots.
Okay.
And they are, of course, one of the ancient grains and have been a fundamental part of our diet and our culture.
Mm.
And for a long period of time, they were pushed aside. We
Mm.
ignored them for a long period of time. But now they are making a comeback. But millets are not a passing food trend.
Mm.
They are,
Mm.
in fact, a genuine solution to many of our
Mm.
problems today. Just not just nutritionally, they are beneficial, but like I mentioned, they are beneficial for our planet. They are beneficial to our farmers, and they are beneficial to us, whether we talk about our health, or we talk about being convenient, or being uh, eco-friendly. So all of it is packed in this one group of grains. So we should look at millets not just as healthy grains, but they are a part of our heritage. They nourish our bodies, they support our farmers, and they protect our environment. So bringing them back to our plates is not just a food choice. In fact, we are taking a step towards better health, a more sustainable future. When we choose millet, we are not only choosing healthier food for ourselves, we are choosing to fight lifestyle diseases which are on a rise, like diabetes and obesity. We are going to, by 2050, is what we have predicted, that India is going to be leading in obesity and diabetes. So something,
Mm.
millets are a solution, and we should start incorporating it right now. I would just say that millets are not, they're more than a grain. They are a
Mm.
symbol of health, tradition, and a smarter way forward. So let's celebrate Sri Anna.
Mm.
That's the actual name for millet. So let's celebrate Sri Anna, the honored grain,
Mm.
and make it a part of our daily life again,
Yeah, and they are good for our health as well as the health of our planet.
of our planet. Yes. So
Mm.
by eating millets, we are benefiting so many things, not just
Mm.
ourselves. We are benefiting the
Mm.
farmers, we're benefiting our planet,
Mm.
and of course, we're benefiting ourselves and our future generations.
So, Dr. Dhirwani, thank you so much for joining us today. It was really an enlightening session, and I'm sure going to include millets in my diet. Of course, even though I've read your book, I have read one more book, and I still feel that I need some more information before I can really start.
So you just need the confidence to start eating
Okay,
millets and start preparing millets. That's it. All that you do. You just need to start. Even when I started a few years ago, but when I
okay,
started also, I was also not so happy, because but I was recommending to my patients, so I had to try it for myself first
okay.
before I recommend to my patients.
Who motivated you to start eating?
My patients, that has always been them,
Okay,
because
okay.
okay, see, I come from a Gujarati background, so in
Uh-huh.
my family, yeah, bajra roti and jawar roti was always cooked.
Yes.
I remember one of my uncle used to eat kodo millet to
Mm.
replace rice. So
Mm.
that's how I recollected when I was, because I had a lot of patients. My major problem used to be like, I had replacement for wheat, but I did not have a
Mm.
replacement for rice.
Mm.
So for a lot of my diabetic patients, it had become a challenge
Mm.
what to recommend. And
Mm.
that's when I recollected that my uncle used to eat this. And that's when I started researching more on millets.
Mm.
So I remembered kodo millet, but then I came across barnyard millet, proso millet, foxtail millet is also one
Mm.
of. I enjoy that the most in form of pulao or biryani. I always,
Mm.
because the grain size is big, so it
Mm.
replaces rice very well.
You could give us some links, where to buy millets, and we will put them up in the podcast show notes so that
Sure, I
if
will.
people
I will.
want to
I will
order.
share it with you. I will share it.
Yes, yes. Okay, so thank you so much. Would you like to share any contact details if people want to know more and want to contact you?
So one can go to my website, that is drkrutidhirwani.com. It's very
Mm.
simple, and you will
Mm.
find everything that you would like to know about me, my work. And if you want to get connected to me also, it is the most
Yes,
simplest way. Or even if you want to buy my book, the links are given there.
yes, yes. I will be putting them up in the show notes.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
You were just listening to my conversation with Dr. Kruti S. Dhirwani, author of the book Millets, the Trending Ancient Grain. Dr. Dhirwani is a homeopathic physician and clinical nutritionist at Sunlight Homeopathic Clinic in Sion, Mumbai. If you like to discover more of her millet recipes and nutrition tips, be sure to check out her social media channels. We hope you enjoyed this conversation and learned something new about the ancient grains that are making a comeback in modern kitchens. If you like this episode, don't forget to share it and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So that's all for today. This is Ranjit Monga signing off. Until next time, goodbye and take care.